Hey everybody, it's Mike from Electric City Sentai DenziCaster, and this week on the DenziBlitz, it's the fourth and final part of Power Rangers Dino Supercharge. Alright folks, it is the fourth and final part of our look at Power Rangers Dino Supercharge this week on the DenziBlitz. First and foremost, for everybody that picked this as the show I was going to watch next, the first Power Rangers show here on the DenziBlitz, thank you, because this was pretty darn fun. For those of you who might have the individual volume, the individual releases, sort of part 1 and 2 of this season, we're on disc 4. That is called the second part of the 2-pack Extinction. So we are looking at the last 5 episodes. That's going to be Freaky Fight Day, Warg World, The Rangers Rock, Edge of Extinction, and End of Extinction. So, real quick synopses here. Freaky Fright Day, it's a riff on the old movie Freaky Friday. Basically, we get some monsters resurrected, including the sheep put people to sleep and make them dream monster. Along with our sports monster, and then a sort of teacher, school-themed monster, who starts swapping the personalities of the Rangers and their essences around, so that different Rangers, different bodies kind of thing, just like Freaky Friday. And of course, ultimately, the Rangers learn to cope with using their talents regardless of whose body they happen to be in at the time. Warg World revolves around Warg, who is an android robotic automaton thing that's supposed to be basically an animatronic caveman exhibit, and it goes horribly awry, even though Coda, our Blue Ranger, very firmly believes that this can work. And somewhere in the midst of all this, with a musical monster, we wind up in a zombie movie. But Warg comes to the rescue, and think of it as a riff on Westworld. I think that's where they got the name from. The Rangers Rock is, again, sort of well, they say music is going to have something to do with it. It really doesn't. The Rangers Rock basically revolves around having to build your own Megazord. We have Xenowing, who we learn over the course of these episodes is the one that actually constructed all of the Zords and programmed them to awaken when the Energems found their hosts. And then he goes to teach. He goes to teach our young pink ranger Shelby how to make her own Zord using a geode. Interesting concept. Probably the least technological explanation for a Zord that did not outright involve magic, although it might as well have. And all in the midst of this, they're going to have to take out a monster that more or less is Medusa. I think they call it Barusa or something like that, or Bardusa or something. It's some interesting name, but it's has a amulet that turns people to stone if they look at it. And then Edge of Extinction, End of Extinction is our 2-part series finale. And I'm not going to delve too deep into it because well, has a lot to do with my opinions of the show. So, first things first, what out of these do you really have to watch? Well, you probably don't have to watch Freaky Friday, and you probably don't have to watch Warg World. But the last 3 episodes I would put on the essentials list, if for no other reason than they're going to get a new toy in episode 18 that you're going to need to know about, as you see in the next 2. Although somewhere in here we get some interesting stuff. I'm going to be honest, from a critical perspective, which I suppose is sort of how I look at these, this show fell apart during these last 5 episodes in a whole lot of ways. So we wind up, Snide agrees to work for our big bad guy, we think. And Agaron, I'm probably mispronouncing the name or misremembering it. You know why? Because he's not the big bad guy of the series. That's why. It was a bait and switch, and I didn't like it. Chaos was the name in Kyryuger. And in this series, so they help separate Snide from Heckle. We confirmed the Dark Inner Gem is what did that to them. You know, is what did it to Heckle, just as it's what generated Doomwing. They get separated. Yay. Heckle sort of goes through this hero's journey in 3 episodes to decide to be a good guy. Initially, it's more of the anti-hero. He really just wants to punish Snide. But eventually he joins the side of the Rangers and goes to help them, which I appreciate that. I like a good face turn. Just like I like a good heel turn, but we didn't get one of those in this show. And there wasn't really a need for one. But our Chaos showing up was a complete bait and switch. Why? Because Sledge, the bad guy from season 1, reappears and takes the Dark Inner Gem like nothing. Boom. And then destroys his employer. And Snide sides with him. And we go on from there. Sledge is ultimately the big bad of the series. This in and of itself doesn't bother me. What bothers me is the bait and switch. If Snide had been the big bad guy through the entire second season, beginning to end, without ever having been supplanted, and then Sledge shows back up and retakes his post, so to speak, then I'd be fine with it. And Sledge's return marks a tonal shift in the show because the monsters become far more comical, which they had not been up to his return to the series. When he shows back up, he's threatening for 5 minutes and then stops. And so there's really it doesn't feel like there's any risk involved in the story at that point. It kind of feels like it's a nincompoop running the villain camp. He just happens to be the most powerful of the nincompoops. Lord High King of the nincompoops. And so if you're the nincompoop with the coolest laser, I guess you're the one in charge. I don't know. But long story short, he really isn't threatening. And it would, I think, been a far more satisfying end for the series if Sledge had shown back up and been a legitimately threatening villain. If Snide had just been the bad guy throughout and Sledge is done. I mean, they give you a reason. They kind of contrive this thing that Sledge and Snide had been in cahoots the entire time. So there's that, perhaps. But Sledge is I never saw him as an actual threat. Which leads to the finale itself being really, 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 in my opinion, anticlimactic from a storytelling standpoint. Other parts of this that bothered me, really there weren't any. It was the bait and switch that bothered me most. And like I said, Sledge's return. The finale from a storytelling standpoint was good. The finale, basically they save planet Earth, we think. It gets pulled through a black hole that they create by destroying the Dark Inner Gem, which takes considerable effort. It doesn't take considerable effort for them to defeat the bad guy. It takes considerable effort to destroy the Dark Inner Gem. But in order to save planet Earth, which gets sucked through a black hole, they're going to have to travel through time, because that's the ultimate power when all 10 Inner Gems come together and the Dark Inner Gem is destroyed and there is no evil influence exerted upon them. then they can create a portal to travel through time. And so they go back in time and they save the day and they defeat Sledge before Sledge ever even knows they exist. They defeat the bad guys before the bad guys are the bad guys, kind of thing. When they're still evil, but you get the idea. They are nowhere near as sophisticated, as skilled, or whatnot as they would become. It was as if they defeated a less powerful enemy, because they did. They defeated someone that was less experienced, less driven, less skilled than they were when they fought them to begin with. So, and while from a logical standpoint, well, why wouldn't you do that? It actually does make sense to do it if you could in that situation, but from a storytelling standpoint, it really didn't make for a satisfying finale to the series in that way, dramatically. That said, it was fun. I'll say that. It was a fun series finale. You don't have to be dramatically good in order to be fun. It doesn't have to be something that is Emmy-worthy, because this is a TV show. Everybody likes to say Oscar-worthy, but Oscars are movies. It doesn't have to be Emmy-worthy to be enjoyable. And that's what we run into here. We have Heckle becoming a good guy. By the end of the series, he becomes a keeper. I feel that was sort of another bait and switch. He becomes the keeper of the Dark Energem in order to make sure that it never falls into evil hands. Like I said, I feel that's sort of another bait and switch, because the one ranger that we never get that Kyryuger had would have been Kiryu Navy, who controls the Spinos, in what this show calls the Spinozord, in Top Spino, I think it's called in Kyryuger. In Kyryuger, that mecha and that ranger appears. Here, the Dark Energem gave off a glow that could be Navy. We create the Zord, although we have been led to believe up to this point that the Zord needs an Energem, as with the Dino Charger. But we get the Dino Charger, we get the Zord, but Keeper occupies the role that would be the Navy Ranger, for all intent and purpose. We never get a Navy Ranger. I really thought it would have been a satisfying end to Heckle's journey, even for the last 3 episodes, for him to become the Navy Ranger, to actually become a Power Ranger. It would have actually made history. He would have been only the second time that the big bad guy in a series became a Ranger himself over the course of the show. But they didn't do that. So it was... I think that was a missed opportunity. I think they were supposedly going to call it the Talon Ranger. That was the rumor that was floating around for a while. But yeah, like I said, I think there were some missed shots there. But like I said, it was fun. The idea of Shelby creating a Zord, okay, that was interesting. It came off like some hocus pocus stuff, but it was kind of funny. The Freaky Fright Day episode, while it contributes nothing to the overall meta plot of the series, was probably one of the most fun episodes of the series, because you get to see the actors enjoy themselves and basically doing impersonations and parodies of one another. It's always interesting to see how another actor plays the part you're playing on the same show. It's always something interesting to see, and it's always fun to watch, because it gives them a chance to kind of be goofy. The fight scenes, the action, the scale of the last few episodes were pretty darn interesting. They were pretty fun. The penultimate episode of the series, we wind up with 5 Greenzilla monsters, which was a monster that gave them no end of trouble earlier in the series. And they're going to have to split up with each of their 5 Megazords to fight these things off. One by, try to fight them all simultaneously, one-on-one, and before taking on the big bad. That felt like there were some stakes and there was some escalating tension to it, but as I said, it kind of fell down a little bit there here at the end. But like I said, A lot of fun. Don't regret watching it. I enjoyed it. Just this will not go down in the annals of history, at least for me, as one of the finest arcs in Power Ranger history. Which does bring me to one more thing, as Jackie's uncle would have said on Jackie Chan's Adventures. No way in the world is this part of the actual Power Rangers timeline. So, to give you guys an idea here, Power Rangers from the original series pretty much all the way through to Dino Charge, with the exception of RPM, is one continuous timeline. So we are always led to believe that this is one world. Two very interesting things here, and perhaps the series finale explains them. Number one, there's no mention of Power Rangers before this team. Now, that's not anything that's necessarily new. Not every show references the idea that there had ever been Power Rangers. But this one doesn't. So that's part one. Part two, the source material, Kyryuger, did a movie, and this show used elements from one of the movies, specifically the musical movie, without... there's a movie there that has the Mighty Morphin and Dino Thunder equivalents, Zyuranger and Abba Ranger, in it. They used none of that outside of the snide costume, which was essentially the Japanese version of Zeltrax in that movie. It was supposed to be that character brought back to life, a villain from Dino Thunder, Abba Ranger. So they used none of that, which seems to me like it would have been a golden opportunity to try to do something, especially with the movie came out during this run. Saban's Power Rangers came out. Plus, you had other stuff that came, they love doing anything with Mighty Morphin in it. Dino Thunder was a beloved season. But they didn't use any of that. So it really strikes me as odd, unless this isn't part of the timeline. And the finale more or less says that, because the finale, when they get back to their rightful time, as it turns out, the bomb that Keeper sends up to Sledge's ship that blows up the ship and all the asteroids fall on Earth, that is what caused the extinction of all the dinosaurs. Full stop. That's it. If that doesn't happen, the dinosaurs don't go extinct. Well, guess what? It doesn't happen. So when they get back, they are not all working at a dinosaur museum. They're all working at a dinosaur zoo. And dinosaurs are alive and well in the modern day. Think about that for a minute. If I go and watch the first episode of Ninja Steel and there are no dinosaurs walking around, then this is not the same timeline. If no one says, hey, let's go to the Dino Zoo, different world. So maybe this falls in like RPM in an alternate reality. This isn't part of the main Power Rangers universe. Wouldn't surprise me. Super Sentai is a different thing every year. It wouldn't shock me if Power Rangers goes in that general direction eventually. But yeah, that was a little bizarre. And just, I don't know why you do it, other than just so you could say that the Power Rangers and their mentor are not what caused the extinction of the dinosaurs, because that's kind of what you were saying. So, there you go. Very enjoyable season. Not going to squeak into my top 5 or anything like that. Probably the best of the new Saban seasons, I'll say that, because I haven't watched all of Samurai, and I choked through part of Megaforce, so... But that wraps up this show. You get a chance. If you are a completionist like me, you'll definitely want it on your shelf. Of course, I've got Samurai on my shelf, so I'm probably not the best guy to ask. But definitely check it out on Netflix, if nothing else. I'll say the first season to me far better than the second. Dino Charge to me was far better than Supercharge. But still very, very cool, and a fun end to that series, even if not a dramatically satisfying one to me. So with that said, it is time to move on to what we're doing next and to start thinking about what comes after that. So here's what we're gonna do. Next week, right here on the DenziBlitz, we're kicking off our look at Space Sheriff Scheider, the third part of the Space Sheriff trilogy. I'm still looking for Charavan. If I can find it, then we'll do that one down the road. That was number 2. We've already done Gavin. Now we're going to do Scheider. But obviously that doesn't last forever. So what do I watch after that? Well, need your help. We're not going to jump right back to Power Rangers, and we're not going to jump right back to Metal Heroes. So what would you guys like me to see? What do you want me to talk about here on the DenziBlitz? Well, here's how you decide. Jump over to our Facebook page. That is facebook.com/DenziCaster. Now, when you go there, there's going to be a poll up, and that poll is going to have basically, I think, 4 choices on it. Those choices will be Kamen Rider, Ultraman, Garo, or other, miscellaneous. There may be something in that spot. It may be something like Tomi or Takara or something like that. Maybe it'll be like the Ryu Kendo Rescue, that Rescue Hero, Rescue Fire. Maybe it'll be like that family of shows. But you guys pick. You pick one of those categories. We're going to leave that poll up for about 2, maybe 3 weeks. Then, once we know what category it is, we will put a new poll up, picking either the era for the show or the show itself, depending on what you guys decide. But that's going to be what we do next. We're going to step away from Super Sentai. We're going to step away from Power Rangers. We're going to step away from all that stuff, the Metal Heroes, for now, and we're going to take a look at one of these other franchises and see what we can see. Because you know what? I've never watched a lot of Ultraman. The only Ultraman stuff I've watched most of the way through, not even completely, is the original Ultraman television series. I've watched a number of miscellaneous shows over the years, but not a whole heck of a lot. Haven't actually gotten to watch all of the Garo shows, so I'm missing some there too. We're picking some stuff that I haven't necessarily watched all of, although Kamen Rider, it is on the list. I've pretty much seen almost every Kamen Rider show beginning to end. There's 1 or 2 exceptions. But you guys are going to get to decide. You're going to pick what we watch next, because that's what we do here on the DenziBlitz. So folks, thank you for joining us this week. Hope you've enjoyed our 9 parts of Power Rangers Dino Charge, then Supercharge, here on the DenziBlitz. If you want to help us out, jump over to our Facebook page, like it, share it, etc., etc. Do the same thing here on the ECS network. Hit that subscribe button. If you liked the video, thumbs up. If you didn't like it, thumbs down. That's fine too. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Constructive criticism, positive feedback, constructive feedback, always welcome here at the ECS network. If you want to support us, oh, and by the way, hit that subscribe button. That helps a lot too. And if you want to help us out here at the ECS Network with our cameras or our equipment or other such things, the things that go into making this content that you guys see every week, well, you can do that by hopping over to our Cafe Press store. It's cafepress.com/ECS Network. Probably timely that I'm wearing the Space Sheriff inspired DenziCaster t-shirt that you can pick up over there, since that's what we start next week. Or you can go over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/ECS Network. Just $1 a month is all we ask. It does help us out when it comes time to start buying equipment for the different shows. So folks, I thank you much for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed the past 9 weeks, and hope you enjoy our look at Space Sheriff Scheider starting next week right here on the DenziBlitz. Until then, I'm Mike, and I'll see you around.